The park fire in California is still growing. In a little more than 2 weeks, the wildfire has burned more than 660 square miles and destroyed more than 600 buildings. It is California's largest wildfire this year. As destructive fires continue to chew through the West, concern turns to the millions of people downwind from those massive plumes of smoke and ash. The smoke is seen as far east as the Dakotas, and health officials in the upper Midwest are keeping an eye on it. They fear that as soon as the weather pattern shifts slightly, that smoke could invade Minnesota, much like it did last summer. Senior environmental correspondent Ben Tracy introduces us to the people behind a new and improved air quality alert system that can be a lifesaver.
Summer means soccer for 13-year-old Will Schroeder.
Why is soccer your sport?
Just grew up with it young. I just like kicking stuff around the house. My parents like, just kick a ball now. So I started kicking the ball.
But in his gear bag, he has to make sure he always has this.
And the side pocket with the keychains can be the asthma pack, the bright red asthma pack.
Schroeder has severe asthma, a condition his parents have so far successfully treated with medicine.
Will is a crazy soccer player. USA Cup is kind of our Super Bowl here. Last year was very challenging with the wildfires because it fell over USA Cup.
Medication was no match for the smoke invading the upper Midwest from a record number of Canadian wildfires thousands of miles away.
It was almost dark out during the day because the sun was so shielded by the smoke. Sometimes it was hard to see the kids on the other side of the field because the smoke was so thick. We know this isn't safe for our kid. How can we do this? But at the same time, how can I tell him he can't play?
What is it like as a mom to have to look at him and tell him that stuff?
It's awful.
With wildfires becoming bigger and more intense, in part due to climate change, meteorologist Matt Terraldson expects to see and smell a lot more smoke.
The new normal is going to be that we're going to have more smoke days.
His job with Minnesota's Pollution Control Agency is to monitor air quality and predict when a raging wildfire is going to force people here in the Twin Cities indoors.
Is it hard to forecast wildfire smoke?
Very much so. We take all the issues with meteorology and all the issues with weather forecasting, and then we add in atmospheric chemistry on top of it.
That smoke is as thick as peanut butter out there.
Last summer, Terraldson's agency issued a record number of air quality alerts, warning residents not to go outside, sometimes for days in a row.
We just had issues with like sensors getting clogged, like things that we'd never had to deal with before because the smoke is so dense.
The particles were actually clogging up your filters?
Yes. It's something I've heard of happening in, say, California or Oregon, but to have that happen in Minnesota was really strange.
And this is where you're collecting samples?
Yep, this is where we collect our PM2.5 samples.
Those are the tiny particles in wildfire smoke that can end up in our lungs, causing respiratory issues.
That's where the filter actually gets sampled. So when I come out, I bring out one of these, slip one off, and bring it back to the lab.
Everything that comes through instantaneously is backed up by this lab data, so we know it's very good data, it's gold standard data, we can trust it.
What did these samples look like when you guys were going through the worst of it?
There was so much of those fine particles on the filter that we couldn't even scan the barcode to get it into the system.
And those particles can send people to the hospital. In 2021, the state's health department saw a 40% spike in respiratory emergency room visits during smoke events. And a new study shows exposure to wildfire smoke increases risks of dementia more than other air pollution.
But look at around the Twin Cities. We've got red, unhealthy, and even purple, very unhealthy.
This summer, the state is upgrading its alert system, issuing warnings quicker and for more specific time periods and locations, so people only need to stay inside when absolutely necessary.
When it's a really bad day and you feel like we can't leave the house, what does it feel like?
You feel trapped because you are. It's the air. I can't impact the air. I can control a lot of other things, but I can't control the air.
But improved smoke forecasts might mean Will has more time outside during the all-too-brief Minnesota summer. For CBS Saturday Morning, Ben Tracy, St. Paul.